Welcome back to the channel. We're here today, and today I'm going to be bringing you a very interesting video. We're going to try and move on from that defeat at home to Hull City last night very quickly because there's no time to dwell on it. We've got a big game Friday against Swansea City, so we're going to continue bringing the content out onto the channel. I'm going to be bringing you 6 players that I think are going to leave Wrexham Football Club at the end of the 25-26 season. A few of you might agree with me on the choices, a few of you might disagree with me. There's a couple of players in here that might surprise you. But before we get into today's video, if you're looking for the best Wrexham AFC content, it's coming your way on the channel. Make sure to get down there and click the red subscribe button. On the road to 29,000 subscribers. I'm on Instagram as well, so if you're on Instagram as well, make sure to go and drop me a follow, it'll be up there. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into the first player. Jay Rodriguez is the first player that I think will leave Wrexham at the end of the season. Now, I'm really surprised in the first place that Rodriguez was kept on at the end of last season going into this championship campaign, given the fact that we recruited quite heavily up top and the fact that we recruited as well in that attacking phase in the January transfer window. And, you know, we're looking at Rodriguez last season in League One. Yes, he came in, and yes, you could say on one hand that he started the majority of the games in the run in which saw us got promoted, but Sam Smith was the main striker that led the line, that scored the goals. Rodriguez, I think, scored 2 goals since signing for us and didn't really have a massive impact on the team that we were expecting him to have, especially for the wages that he's reportedly on at the club. So I was really surprised that Phil Parkinson did decide to keep him on. And a big hats off to Rodriguez because, you know, at 36 years old, he had that injury in pre-season, he came back, he got back fully fit, and most players of that age would have called it a day and would have retired and hung up the boots. So I do think as well there comes to a point where you have to be honest with yourself and be honest that your body isn't going to produce the quality of football that it once did 10 years ago, and I just don't think Rodriguez is championship quality, and I don't think he was a League One quality for us last season. And I did these notes before the game last night, and I think that chance that he had against Hull City kind of just sums up his time at Wrexham in one shot. We've obviously seen the injury to Kiefer Moore, so it looks like a spot in the matchday squad and on the bench for Rodriguez is going to become a regular theme for whenever it is the next 3 or 4 weeks, but I just don't see him playing more than 5 minutes per game in the running of the championship season. But I do think on the other hand his experience in training and his experience and quality alongside the other strikers that we do have in the camp is something that Phil Parkinson might see as very valuable. But on the pitch, it just always looks like Jay Rodriguez lacks confidence, which is a real shame because, you know, you look at the striker he once was. I remember him 10 years ago collecting his match attacks, watching him on Match of the Day. He used to be this striker, you know, short hair, running the lines, really had a good bit of pace about him, scored goals. And you're looking at him now, yes, you get older in your career, and I think there was an injury at one stage in Rodriguez's career which saw him sort of lose that yard of pace, and unfortunately he's not the striker he once was, and I'm sure he can agree he's not a fraction of the striker that he was maybe 10 years ago, which is a shame because I was expecting him to come in, of course, him signing from top-end championship side Burnley to another top-end League One side. You'd think he might have had an impact given obviously the lower standard of quality in League One, but it wasn't to be. We've only seen him score 2 goals. One was a penalty and one was a rebound from a penalty. So I think the main question is for Rodriguez is what he'll do next after he inevitably leaves Wrexham in the summer. He's out of contract on the 30th of June, and if he does decide to carry on playing, good on Jay Rodriguez, because most players, like I said, would have hung up their boots at this stage of their career. So we wish him all the best of luck wherever he does go, and if there is a parallel universe where he does get kept on next season, we'll just have to wait and see. My second player, Tom O'Connor. Now, O'Connor recently returned back to the club for rehab after his time on loan at Peterborough United was cut short due to an injury, and it's a real big shame for Tom O'Connor because we are looking at his spell at Peterborough United. It was a loan spell for O'Connor that 100% needed to happen after, you know, a lack of game time towards the back end of the League One campaign last year, and he seemed to have a really good spell at Peterborough United and the fans really took a liking to him. However, I just think next season Wrexham will look at Tom O'Connor's situation and look to offload him on a permanent deal. That's through no fault of his own, Tom O'Connor's. We just added so much quality to that back line, especially in that left centre-back spot, that he just was going to always drop down the pecking order, and we saw that in pre-season and at the start of the championship campaign. He got that move to a League One side with, you know, alongside Jacob Mendy. So I just do think there is a point where Tom O'Connor must have thought that his days at Wrexham were numbered due to obviously Lewis Brunt's performances at left centre-back towards the back end of the League One campaign, and he put some really good performances in, and Tom O'Connor was dropped to the bench and was sort of used as that squad player that would come on for the final 5-10 minutes if, you know, we were looking to hold on to a lead. But I think on O'Connor's sense, he's still relatively young in his career, and he'll no doubtedly get a lot of interest from League One clubs if Wrexham are to put him up for sale in the summer transfer window, because he carries a lot of assets that a lot of managers at that level will look at and think that could be really valuable to our squad. He's a good passer of the ball, his composure's good, his just calmness as well on the ball I think is really good, his versatility as well, his ability to play centre-back, central midfield. Like I said, a lot of managers will be looking at this thinking, if we can get him from Wrexham, he'll become one of our key players in their squad. And another thing as well with Tom O'Connor, we saw it at his time at Peterborough United, at Wrexham as well, he was always consistent, he was always a 7 out of 10 performer week in, week out for us, and if you are looking for that reliability in a team, a lot of League One sides will be looking at him and thinking, we could snatch him off Wrexham's hands. Paul Mullin is up next. Now, it's going to be a sad day when this does inevitably happen, because Paul Mullin's days at Wrexham I think are done, which is a real shame given what he has done for the football club over the past couple of years. And it's an even bigger shame how it has ended at Wrexham due to obviously injuries, a lack of game time, being frozen out of the squad. And I think it all stems back to his back surgery that he did have before the start of the League One campaign. Over that summer period, he missed the pre-season tour, he missed the first couple of games of the League One season, and unfortunately when he did return from injury, he just was never up to scratch. And I don't know if that is mainly due to him not being good quality in general at the League One level, or the injury just completely killed him off, because it did look like Jay Rodriguez as well. It looked like he lost that yard of pace, he looked like he lost that golden touch in front of goal for us, which he had over the past 2 or 3 seasons, which is a real shame, because the form that Mullin was on in the National League final season and the League Two season, there was all the pointers towards him going into League One and scoring double digits. No player doesn't go from scoring 26 league goals in League Two to scoring 3 in League One for Wrexham. So it's a real shame, and I do think the injury for Paul Mullin is one of the main reasons why he isn't the player he is. He'd done so much for the football club, and how it ended at Wrexham, like I said, being frozen out of the squad by Parky, not having that look in when he might have looked at the other strikers that we did have in that squad and thinking, yeah, I could do a lot better than them. This season we've seen Paul Mullin go on loan twice in League One, at Wigan Athletic and at Bradford City, 2 teams that have different ambitions in that league, where he scored 5 goals collectively in 31 games, which isn't a great return, and I think this kind of does show that Paul Mullin at League One level isn't fully cut out for it, which is a real shame, because I think he could still do a really good job for a League Two side. And I think the main thing with Mullin is you just need to give him a consecutive run of fixtures, and he didn't really get that at Wigan, he's not got that at Bradford so far, so whether he needs to reevaluate in the summer and sort of just have a look at his options of where he could go, because like I said, he's a striker that needs to be playing week in, week out if you want to see the best version of him. But no doubtedly, Paul Mullin has been the best striker I've seen in a Wrexham shirt. No one comes close to him. The catalogue of goals that he has is an absolute joke, and we'll be forever grateful for him sort of single-handedly leading the line at Wrexham alongside Ollie Palmer, and being one of the main reasons why we saw back-to-back promotions. And he should be a player and a man that never has to buy a drink in Wrexham again. But unfortunately, I do think the day is going to come in the summer where we see Paul Mullin leave on a permanent deal. Next player is Ryan Barnett. Now, I would not have been expected to have said those words after his performances in League One last season. Like a few others on this list, and like a few others in the Wrexham squad, it's more of a case for Ryan Barnett of us adding real strength over the summer transfer window in his position at right wing back, which is a real shame because he had such a bright start to League One last year. He is still such a promising player, but I think, you know, we're looking at him, the attributes that he does carry, pace down that right wing. He's a very good crosser of the ball, and I still stand by, I think he is one of the best crossers at this football club, but it seems to be the defensive side of his game that Ryan Barnett does lack, and what Phil Parkinson thinks Kabore and Ryan Longman are better at, obviously, in the defensive area of the pitch for Wrexham. We've seen Barnett this season, he started a handful of games and he hasn't been poor in any sense. I think he's put in some really solid performances. It is just the quality that we do have. Kabore on loan from Man City, Premier League experience, Longman Championship experience with Hull City, with Millwall, etc. So it is slightly disappointing because Barnett is such a promising player that deserves to be playing week in, week out, which leads me on to the point of I'm surprised that we didn't see Barnett go on loan in the January transfer window. I think it would have been a perfect opportunity for him to have a real run of games in the running of whatever season it was, the Championship, League One, etc., because I think it would have been a real good opportunity for him to show to Phil Parkinson that next season for Wrexham he can still be part of our plans. But on the other hand, you do just have to look at it and think, we've still got him. It's depth in that position in case, something bad happens on the injury sense, suspension sense. So yeah, it's good to have him back at the club. But I do think in the summer, if we are to sell him, do we sell him on a permanent? Do we let him go out on loan? Because he's a very good player, he's still 26 years old. It's just whether Phil Parkinson sees Barney as part of our plans going forward in the Championship next season, or even the Premier League. If it's the case of the Premier League, I do think we will see Barnett leave the club, which is a shame because he's been such a brilliant player for us, me personally as well. I don't think I've ever said this on the channel, but Barnett has always been supportive of the channel. When obviously the filming got stopped due to the EFL, he was very supportive of that, and most recently, a couple of months ago, he helped me out on one of my university assignments by doing an interview. So I'll be forever grateful for what he has done for me personally, and you can always wish him the best of luck because he's a brilliant guy. Next player is Elliot Lee. Now he's currently on loan at Doncaster Rovers in League One, and I think come the expiry of his contract in June, I do think we'll see Lee leave Wrexham Football Club. Now, he finished top scorer in League One last season, so to then go from that, such a promising season, getting promoted, being top scorer, being one of our key players in that forward line, to then not even featuring in a single league game in the Championship this season, I think it's pretty much guaranteed that his days at Wrexham Football Club are done. And I think that was an indirect way of Phil Parkinson saying that Elliot Lee is never going to play for Wrexham again. And I think some fans will be disappointed with this after what he's done for the club in National League, in League 2 and in League 1. But it's part and parcel of going up the leagues, and especially when you have a quick rise from the National League to League 2 and then League 2 to League 1 and then League 1 to the Championship, you need to keep up with continuing to maintain and build quality in this squad. And whether Elliot Lee was Championship quality, I don't know. I really don't know, because he's such a good player for us last season, but I don't think he would have suited the Championship, and I don't think, given the signings we made, he would have had much game time for us. But on the other hand, for Doncaster, he's a very good useful asset for them, and he would be a very good asset for any League One side, and he played a pivotal role in our 3 promotions in the past couple of years. Like Tom O'Connor, I think for Elliot Lee, I don't think it'll be an issue for him in regards to clubs wanting him on a permanent contract. We'll have to wait and see on how he performs for Doncaster Rovers in the final few games of the season, but I do think Elliot Lee will leave Wrexham in the summer. And finally, Seb Revan. Now, I think a name that a lot of you at home will have forgotten about over the past couple of months, because we've not seen much of Revan. We didn't really see much of him in League 1 last season, and going into League 1 here for Burton Albion on loan, we've not really seen much of him. Wrexham don't really produce loan watches on players, so it's very easy to forget about these names that we do have out on loan in this squad. And I think you might disagree with me on this one for a couple of different reasons. Revan is only 22, and Wrexham did pay a decent sum from Aston Villa for him, but I just can't see Revan returning to Wrexham after this loan spell at Burton Albion and being an active member of the squad on a match day, because you are looking at the quality. Kakache, we've seen George Thomason's development on that left hand side in recent weeks, and I think for Revan last year he had a couple of decent performances in the starting 11, but it was just the consistency in terms of his performances and the consistency of a decent run of games in the side, and I don't think that was helped by the impact that James McLean did have over the course of the League One season. We've seen him this year with Burton Albion. He struggled with injuries, so it does make you think, what decision will Phil Parkinson do for the youngster? So that is it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, make sure to drop a like. Let me know in the comment section down below, do you disagree with me? Do you agree with me? Let me know players who you think we should let go in the summer of 2026. And until then, subscribe, like, do all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next video. And let's hope for a big 3 points on Friday against Swansea City, up the Championship Reds.